Welcome back to Getting In, a College Coach Conversation. As I promised before the break, we're going to be talking about regular decisions coming in. My colleague and the show producer, Jen Simons, who's a former admissions officer at Tufts, Northeastern, Barnard, and Connecticut College. So she's been on the other side of sending out decisions at many schools, is joining me today. Hi, Jen.
Hey, great to see you.
Nice to see you too. All right, we are going to get right into it. Regular decision results. For starters, when should students expect these?
So for a lot of students, or I would actually argue for most students, they've already had decisions, right? They've already had their early action decisions rolling, that sort of thing. But the Ivies have a common release date that's at the end of March, and many other schools, I think mostly highly selective schools, would you agree, come out
Right.
later. At the end of March. So there are a lot of students that are waiting and have been waiting, as they've been telling me, a long time for the final decisions. So everything I think everything is released April 1st. Having said that, we know that there's been a delay with the FAFSA, so you might not, as in years past, get financial aid information simultaneously, but admissions decisions should be ready to go by the beginning of April.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I could think of a pandemic era where maybe decisions came out like on April 1st or a little bit after. I blocked it all out at this point. But yeah, by the end of March, you should have all of your decisions from your schools, assuming you hit their deadlines and they are submitting or releasing decisions on a specific date. And I agree, it tends to be some of the more selective schools that wait until the bitter end. All right, so now we know when they're coming, and you're going to get one of three choices, and we're going to talk about all three, right? You're either going to get accepted, yay, you're going to get waitlisted, you're going to get a no, you're going to get denied. And we're going to talk a little bit about what is a waitlist. Is it a denial in a nice form? I don't know, but let's talk about the yes, because that's exciting.
Oh.
What do? You open it up and you have a yes. Maybe you have a yes from a few different schools. What are your next steps?
Sure, you're probably recording it for TikTok or your relatives or whatever. So that's a new thing, relatively speaking. But
Don't have to do that.
oh, you definitely don't have to do that. No, but you might be.
Yes.
So this is your time. This is your month, essentially, to compare and contrast, to dig in. You are, as an admitted student, able to access the colleges in a way that maybe you weren't before. And what I mean by that is you can email professors and say, I'm an admitted student, I'm making a choice, and they will be more likely to get back to you. I would copy the admissions office potentially on that, those emails too. You can go to the admitted student programs. You will probably be invited to alumni, programs in your area. You should do everything that you possibly can. You should go to everything you possibly can. You should get as much information as you possibly can to make a really informed decision. I find this time of year in our profession on this side very challenging because I feel like students and parents are always asking me, what do you think of
Right.
this? What do you think? And I'm like, it doesn't matter what I think. This is all about you. And I would even argue, yes, your parents are probably very likely paying the bill, but at the same time, this is an opportunity for you to figure out where you feel most comfortable. And I also feel, even though I didn't necessarily love this as an admissions officer, I do feel strongly that students that applied ED and were admitted, and know that they are going to a school should also go back for these admitted student programs. I didn't love it as an admissions officer because I felt, come on, you're already in, like
Right.
you're coming.
We want to
But
focus on the other
we,
people.
we want to
Yes.
focus on the undecided, but guess what? You can actually help us persuade the undecided because you're probably very enthusiastic. You've had a positive decision for months now. It's also a great way for you to meet the professors, to see what's on offer in terms of, pre-health advisory or, whatever it is. So they're going to
Don't
roll up.
scoop us. Next
Oh,
week, we're talking about admitted student
oh,
programs. That's
yeah,
fine.
I did actually create that calendar. So okay, sorry.
But all I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just saying she's given you a sort of a taste of what an admitted student would do. And if you want to learn more, tune in next week. We're going to talk about that. But I agree. I
Sorry.
think it's good advice. No, I think it's good advice. Come to campus.
Come to campus. If you're waitlisted, no, I'll tell you it's not technically a deny, but I'll also tell you to move on. So it's chances are, just statistically speaking, regardless of the school, you're not going to get accepted. It means that you could have been accepted, in theory, but there are so many applicants, blah blah blah. So I would take it as a no. And then what you can do is let the colleges know that you are interested. If you are in fact interested in coming, you might have the opportunity, you will definitely have the opportunity to say on their portal, yes, I'm still interested. And that's the most important thing you can do if you're waitlisted. Let them know
Yes.
that you are interested, because really it is out of your hands. The colleges have to wait and see who gets accepted. I mean, excuse me, not who gets accepted, who accepts their offer of
Yes.
admission that they've accepted. And they see how the class looks, and then they see if they need to go to the wait list. And the reasons that they're going to go to the wait list have nothing to do with how amazing you are, because you're strong enough to be waitlisted. But do they need more boys? Do they need more, kids from Alaska? Of course they need more kids from Alaska. So don't move to Alaska. But short of that, like, tell them you're interested, but don't be too hopeful.
Right. And just to echo what you were saying, when we were making decisions at Penn about the wait list, it wasn't bring me, your favorite waitlisted kids. It was, we need more men who are interested in engineering. Literally, we'd probably never get that call, but maybe more
Mm-hmm.
men interested in engineering from, these 10 states.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's the kind of thing that would happen. And maybe I might get one opportunity to say, find me your favorite waitlisted student. Because sometimes it does happen that you were in the class and then got pulled out at the last minute. I hate to break it to everyone listening, that probably wasn't you, because that doesn't happen all that often. And then that would probably be the student, assuming the student had reached out after being waitlisted to say, I still really would like to attend. That's the file I'm grabbing and bringing to the dean when that call came through. But waitlists aren't ranked typically. And, they are not, as you said, they're filling holes, gaps in the class, which you may or may not, meet that criteria, right? A couple of other things about wait lists, and the reason that we're both like, it's basically a no, because you will see that many schools with big wait lists, the wait lists have more students on there than they have spots in the class. They have more students on the wait list than they've accepted, right? Maybe you have a class of 2,000 to fill. You've admitted 5,000 students, anticipating only 2,000 of them will accept. And they might have 10,000 students on the wait list. It's not probably going to happen.
I remember being an admissions officer thinking, I want to let this student down easily. I really love them. I can see
Yes.
them here. I want them to know that this could have been an admit if we didn't have 25,000 other applications. But at the same time, I think now that I'm on this side, maybe I wouldn't do that anymore. Maybe it's better to rip off the Band-Aid.
Yeah. I agree. I actually was more of the rip the Band-Aid off kind
Of
of
course you
person.
were. You're mean. Oh, just kidding.
Maybe a little, but I thought it was being humane, and maybe
No,
I was,
it
maybe I
was.
wasn't.
You were right. It was better because the student needs to move on, I think, when
Yes.
they have a wait
And I
list.
think when you get waitlisted, it's tough. I think if you get waitlisted by multiple institutions, really be honest with yourself. You don't need to stay on the wait list. Maybe you have one or two that you'd like to see what will happen, but let the rest go, especially if the schools that admitted you, you're more excited about.
Mhm.
I also think follow the school's rules for the wait list. They'll let you know. Yes, you can
Mhm.
reach out. No, you can't. All we want is X, or you could do X, Y, and Z. Do X, Y, and Z, or just do X if they've said all we want is X. But in general, you are going to want to at least let them know you do want to remain on the wait list. Um, any other thoughts on the wait list? I feel we've talked about the wait list on many shows. I don't think that advice really changes from year to year. So if you go into our blog and you look for, how do I handle a wait list, you're going to find some really good detailed info on that. I don't know if you had one best practice other than assume it's probably not going to happen, Jen, that you might want to share?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that you need to let them know that you're interested, whether that's on the portal or an email. Don't be, aggressive about it or anything, and don't pester your friends who have been admitted to those schools to make decisions earlier. So because they're taking your spot, they're not. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So just let go.
Although I will say, if you have been accepted to a school and you're
Oh,
not going to go, say no, because that can
absolutely,
impact the wait list.
100%. But not if you're still like
Not if
noodling
you're
it.
still considering
Yeah,
it. You
exactly.
absolutely should not if you still are not unclear. Okay, what if the answer is no? I feel like more and more we get this question of like, well, I want to appeal it. What are your thoughts?
I've never been in a situation where we allowed appeals, and that didn't stop people from trying to appeal, but it was not going to happen. Admissions offices don't make mistakes. I mean, they do make mistakes. Everybody makes, but they're not going to deny you if you should have been admitted. Now, I understand why you think you should have been admitted. You could have been admitted if there weren't 25,000 plus other applicants, but
Right.
it's not about you. Don't take it personally. You did a great job. Focus on the schools that admitted you. Mourn for a little bit, grieve for a little bit, whatever you need to do, but then move on.
Right. Um, I totally agree. Last thing I would say about appeals, there are some schools that have an actual process. So
Yes.
by all means, go for it if they have an actual process, but understand that unless you really, they've didn't have a piece of information or something was wrong, it's probably, they probably did not make a mistake, is I guess what we're both trying to say. And
Yeah.
and that's rough. And
Mhm.
I hope that you know, my final parting words on this whole subject would be get excited about the schools that accepted you and let go of the rest. Any final thoughts from you, Jen? I feel
Oh,
like you and I
100.
think similarly about
We
this
do.
stuff.
We do. 100%. You're going to join those Facebook groups. You're going to like make yourself part of the community. Think about your roommate. Think about your professors. Wear your swag. Get excited.
Yes, great advice. Jen, thank you so much for joining today. I want to thank all of my guests. Next week, Shannon is hosting. As we noted, she's going to be talking about admitted student programs. She's also going to be answering listener questions. So if you have them, send them to us. Facebook, Instagram, at College Coach BH, email gettingin.voiceamerica@gmail.com. And I kept mentioning the blog. You can find that at blog.getintocollege.com. And don't forget, we are here every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific.